We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Joy in My House, inspirational reality show with a touch of recovery. A reality show where nothing is left unsaid
and no one is insignificant who shares.
I'm joined here by author of Shaped by the Master's Hand and my co-host, Lolita Robinson.
How are you doing today?
Welcome
Happy 4th
to
of
another
July.
Day of Joy in My House. Yes, happy 4th of July weekend.
Yeah, well, it's nice to be back. I was banned on Father's Day, okay? It was just a day for fathers. No, I'm kidding. I had the most wonderful time watching the show. I never get a chance to sit back and watch it. It was really exciting to do it.
It's so different, isn't it?
It is. It really is. And you do very well. Yeah.
You know what? It's easy when we have the amazing guests that we have on the show.
We have had a lot of good people. And Paul was co-hosting.
Co-host? Yes.
And so he's really good. He has a lot to say. I can't wait till you have him come back and give a message.
Yeah, I think the next step is for him to come on and give a message. He's giving our New Year's message. He's giving our Father's Day message.
Yep.
And we got to have him come back and give a message.
That's right. So what's happening for the 4th for you?
You know what? It's very calm. My birthday just passed.
I know. Happy birthday. Both of us.
June. We're June birthdays. Happy belated birthday to you, too.
Yay for all you June folks.
But it was really nice. My girlfriend really went all out. You know, I always tell her, I just want to feel appreciated. I don't care what you do. Just make me feel special. Okay. She really did that.
All right.
She took me to my favorite place.
And where is that?
The Standard Hotel here in downtown LA.
Oh, okay.
Rooftop pool.
Ooh.
Very calm.
Go ahead.
But really nice. And then this last couple of days, I took her and our girls out to Laguna Beach, and we just hung out at the beach.
Oh, I bet that was lovely. Was it real crowded?
It was a weekday, so it wasn't too bad.
Okay, now
and the
it's
sun
gonna
had
be a
just
mess,
come out. But it's amazing the peace that's around us when we just are in sync, when we're prayerful, when we're calm, when we're not living in the world.
Well, yeah.
We live in it, but we're not of it.
Right.
Because the world can really catch us.
Yeah. It can.
And blindside us.
Yeah. And I know you said you've been having a lot of trials too.
Well, financially during the summer, my high-end clients that really pay me a lot of money, they leave out of country. Their husbands take them to Japan, to Hong Kong, and so financially summer's always more difficult.
Right.
But God always gives me just enough to get through.
Yeah, He lets you know that
He's in
don't
control.
Forget who makes all the provision. You have to walk by faith. It's hard. I was in the emergency room last night with my little niece.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she was having stomach problems, and so she called me and she was crying. So at about 12 o'clock, I'm at UCLA at the emergency ward, and I thought, this is what life is about. We wear so many hats,
really do.
On stage, and then you're a mom, and then you're doing whatever. I help seniors and stuff. So life can get stressful. So really this 4th of July is not a lot of fireworks, but it's a lot of inner peace, and I think that's what's important.
Amen. Inner peace, that peace that God gives us is priceless, especially for me being an addict, being sober for 10 years now.
Congratulations. Has it been 10 years?
This will be the 10th year.
Oh, that is so cool.
This will be the 10th year.
That's so cool. Congratulations to
you.
Thank
you. But it's still, like we talk about in program, it's a process.
Yeah.
We don't arrive in this.
No.
We continue striving for better. We continue striving for more healing, for more peace, because it is a struggle. Because for me, as I got more sober, things have gotten more difficult.
It is. Yeah, well, you're not numbing yourself out. You're facing life on life's terms, and it's hard. I can see why people check out. I can see why people commit suicide. I can see why people gamble. I can see why people get in one relationship after another. It's really, really hard. But what are the end results,
Exactly. That chaos and that anxiety.
That drama and the whole bit. Yeah.
I can't live like that anymore. Even just drama that comes into my life now. It's like, let's face it.
Yeah.
We just deal with it.
Right.
As opposed to where before I would always run.
Yeah.
Because we had a great show for you today. And we want to thank you for being a part of the joy that we have in our house here on www.latalklive.com on Joy in My House. Last week we had our Father's Day special with
Tank.
the actor
Yeah.
Tank Jones. He's been on Breaking Bad. He's been on Three Kings, CIS Miami, and he's a star of Union Bound. He was on our previous show and he did our Father's Day message.
Yep, he did.
He had a lot to say.
He did. It was a lot of interesting things about, I think, his career coming to a halt because I think some challenges with his mom or somebody.
Yes.
Just how hard it is, but not to give up and stay in there and being a father and keeping his faith in this Hollywood.
Yes.
This whole thing is hard.
And that's what we were talking about off camera in the green room. We had talked about how Three Kings was his big break. It's a movie with Mark Wahlberg.
That was huge.
George Clooney, Ice Cube, not Ice T, Ice Cube, and having had the opportunity to work with them and be one of the actors in the movie, his career was about to take off, but circumstances held him back.
Yep. Well, I know that too. When my singing was doing well, and then the speaking, and then when I fell, 2 years it's been just kind of like, okay, God, I have to trust you and see what you want to do in this process. I think that's why we're doing this show. We're doing this show so people can know that life is hard.
That's right.
But you can find your peace, you can find your joy, and you can persevere and not give up. And that's why I love the guests that we have, and I'm looking forward to. And finally, there's some handsome men for me. You guys, I'm so happy. I'm having a wonderful 4th of July because there's always beautiful women every week. And now I'm happy. They're so handsome, so I'm happy.
We have a great show for you today here on Joy in My House, ladies and gentlemen. His name is Omar Alatar. He's executive producer to Passionate Few. I want you to know that you can link up with us on Facebook /Joy in My House. If you like the Facebook page, you become a fan. You receive up-to-date lineups of guests and information. We also have an Instagram page where you can follow us on Instagram /Joy in My House, and a Twitter page where you can tweet us with any questions or comments for ourselves or for our guests.
Right.
Because today's show, Omar Alatar is executive producer to Passionate Few. He's going to come and give his testimony and talk about his amazing new show.
Wow.
You're not going to want to miss. This is Joy in My House, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to stay tuned. We're going to come right back.
Hi, this is Marsha Waiteka, inviting you to join me every Monday at 1 p.m. for Born to Talk, where conversation plus connections equal community. Starting Monday, April the 13th, be sure to tune in to Born to Talk with Marsha Waiteka, Mondays at 1 p.m. Pacific, exclusively on latalklive.com. You can also listen live at iTunes Radio R&B, TuneIn Radio, Radio Flag, Live 365, or AHA Radio. This is Reality Radio, handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. We are LA Talk Live, and we are born to talk.
Hi, I'm Ro Williams, and I would like to invite you to join GospelRhythms.com every Sunday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our show, GospelRhythms.com Talk Live Radio. Join us as we celebrate Christians around the world in all genres of entertainment, as well as highlight interest stories on men and women who are making a difference and impacting their community. So don't forget to tune in to GospelRhythms.com Talk Live Radio, exclusively on LATalkLive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes under R&B or watch us live on Ustream TV. We are Reality Radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is GospelRhythms.com Talk Live Radio on LATalkLive.com. We're more than just talk. We're heaven's party here on earth.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Joy in My House, inspirational reality show with a touch of recovery. I'm joined here by recording artist Lolita Robinson.
Getting back to it, too.
And my co-host.
I'm glad to be here. Let's get started.
And our in-studio guest, Omar Alatar. Welcome to the show.
Hey guys, good to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Omar, we always like to let our audience and viewers get to know how we came in contact with each other.
Yeah, I want to know how you guys met.
It's very interesting because I was at the Tesla showroom in Brea, California, in Orange County.
When was this?
This was about a week ago.
Yeah, about a week and a half
ago. Oh my gosh, you guys! So this is really fresh off the cusp.
Yeah.
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah, the universe has some interesting timing.
Yes, we do. Okay.
It really does because I was there. My father and my mother are interested in buying a Tesla.
Good choice.
And we were there just investigating, and we went through the whole run through of the car and what it is, and he was very professional and very well spoken. And when we started to exchange numbers, I gave him my card, and my card says "Join My House," host of "Join My House," and he says, "Oh, I have a inspirational show too."
Oh my goodness! So you were also our car salesman. You're selling the cars. You were there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's right. You got to pay the bills.
That's
There you
right,
go.
yeah.
So what was interesting is we talk about in the show how God books the show. I did not have a guest for this Sunday. I have a guest for the following Sunday and the following Sunday after that. But this Sunday was open. And I asked Omar, actually I Facebooked him and I said, would you be interested in coming on the show?
Yeah.
And he said, definitely. Not this Sunday, but this Sunday I can. And
That's
sure
so
enough,
cool.
God booked the show.
I'm so glad. Well, I can't wait to hear his story.
So that divine appointment is always interesting.
Absolutely.
It really is.
Yeah, we had the lady who had the show. We always want to not plagiarize. She has a show called Divine Appointments, right?
Divine Appointments.
There you
yes,
go.
Rachel.
So we want to make sure. So now you have an inspirational radio show too. Is it radio or TV?
I've done radio, and I love radio,
Uh-huh.
but right now I'm doing video. So I'm doing a video series called The Passionate Few.
Oh, good for you.
it's
Okay,
real
well,
cool.
I don't want to
And
get
we'll
ahead
get
of the
into
story.
that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But very quickly, how did you get involved with Tesla? You know, it's cutting edge technology and solar power. What made you want to
Yeah, and
work for
explain
them?
it to me because Tesla,
Yeah.
I've heard it, but I'm not really, familiar.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was several steps. One, I got into sales. I never really enjoyed the 9 to 5 hustle, clock in, clock out, and sales was always kind of fun.
Wow.
Plus, I like talking to people. So I got into sales. I've sold all kinds of stuff my whole life. And then I did solar last year and fell in love with clean energy.
Wow.
Made some great money, met some cool people, and got to, help the planet and help people save money. And but at a certain point, it got kind of unfulfilling. I was actually a door-to-door knocker.
You're kidding.
Yes,
How did you know you were into sales? All my friends are having a fit because they
Yeah.
can't sell on these jobs.
Well, I think I was always into money.
Oh, okay. Hey, now that.
There you go.
And so sales was a
Yeah.
good vehicle for that.
Yeah, but you have to have the skill. I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I did, but I've always been the type of person, even if I don't have the skill, I just put myself in the situation and sink or swim.
There you go. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got into solar, and just it kind of got unfulfilling after a while, and then the opportunity for Tesla came about, and it was, it's a beautiful car, a beautiful company, no pollution, all made here in the U.S.
And
It's
is
beautiful.
it the electric car?
All electric vehicles, yeah.
Is that the one that self-drives itself too?
Autopilot can to a degree.
Okay.
Not totally independent. There's still got to be some caution used on the side of the driver.
Okay. All right. So
But yeah, it's a beautiful company, and I love the mission.
good.
Well, let's let the audience and viewers get to know you a little bit. We always like to talk about your family of origin and let people know a little bit about yourself.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Now, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Walnut, California.
Now,
Walnut.
Walnut, California is where my kids live.
Right.
My older two kids. My ex grew up in Walnut. She went
Is
to
that near Diamond Bar?
that's right next
Correct.
to Diamond Bar.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
She went to the schools there, the elementary school, the high school, went to college at Mount Sac. And now my kids are going through the same thing where they're going through the same elementary school with the same teachers that she had,
Wow.
going through the same high school, and now probably going to go to the junior college at Walnut as well.
Wow. That's
So-
incredible. Yeah.
How was it growing up in Walnut?
It was really interesting because it's a very nice area, very clean area, but at the same time, it kind of breeds a lot of comfort in kids.
What do you mean by that?
Comfort. A lot of the kids come from affluence.
Okay.
And so they're not necessarily too driven because they had a lot of things, handed to them a little bit.
Was that your case?
To a degree,
Okay. All
for
right.
sure. Definitely didn't have a lot of the challenges that a lot of other people had. But I don't know, I was always motivated. I was always kind of intense, always kind of curious, and I couldn't relate to people that just wanted to hang out and watch a game or
So you were
listen
always
to
kind of
music.
motivated.
Definitely. I was
Okay.
always a big dreamer.
All
I
right.
wanted to be a soccer player and then a movie star and then, a professional skateboarder and
There you go.
so yeah, always dreaming and didn't really have a lot of that around me, so I was kind of alone a lot and in my head.
Well,
I'm
let's
sure
talk
that's
about
your
that.
father and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
You come from two hardworking parents.
Yeah. I was gonna ask
Very
you.
old school views.
Mhm.
And what did you mean when you told me they have old school views?
Old school views in that they look at life as, you go to college, you get a
work.
job, you do it for a couple decades. I think they both had the same job since they were in their mid-20s up until they just both retired within the last year or so.
Oh, that's so.
So
cool.
we're
Where did they
talking
meet?
about-
Where did your parents meet?
I believe at work.
Okay.
I
and
believe at work, yeah.
Where did they work?
Downtown LA at Caltrans, California
Good for
Department of
them.
Transportation.
So they were hard workers. They don't believe in
Absolutely.
handouts. Believe in working for what you want.
Absolutely, and
Okay.
they've done well for themselves. And so, when I approached them and my dad's an engineer, and my mom was the first of her family to go to college.
So that's great. Congratulations to your mom.
Yeah, absolutely. And today's her birthday. So
happy birthday, Mom.
Happy birthday, Mom.
What you going to do for her? I want to hear, as a mom myself, what are you going to do for her?
It's a surprise.
Oh, okay. That's
you don't want to give it away.
That's right. Or if he hasn't thought it through yet.
Yeah, there you go.
Either one.
I am a salesman, so I don't know.
That's what I said. I was thinking about
Well, we were talking about your parents being old school.
And siblings. What about siblings?
Do you have siblings?
Yeah, so I have a sister. My sister also that same line of thinking, very hardworking, very by the book, do well in school. So it was kind of hard to relate to my parents or my sister because they were very focused, do the right thing, and I'm over here trying to pursue my passion and listen to people and go to seminars and read books. So to them, it was quite the contrast.
So they think in a box, kind of like they kind of. Would you say you're an out of the box thinker, more entrepreneurial?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So that would be a conflict. There was a conflict in the home with that?
To say the least, yes.
Wow.
To say the least,
okay.
Yeah.
But let's also talk about some of the family dynamic. Having had the opportunity to chat with you and speak with you and script out the agenda for today's show, we're always really transparent on this show. We always talk about some of the hurts, some of the dysfunctions, some of our addictions, and you were willing to come on. And I want to thank you first of all before we even get started for you sharing some of your struggles.
I'm so glad to see you here.
Yeah.
Because it's not easy. We don't do this to glamorize what we did. We do it to hopefully bring some hope and inspiration to you out there listening that we all go through some of these challenges.
Right.
So if you can relate, please tune in, listen, engage with us, because you had a lot of dysfunction at home.
I did.
Let's talk about some of that dysfunction.
I did. So I grew up in quite a tense household. My parents worked 9 to 5, and they worked in downtown LA. So I was raised mostly by I had a babysitter for most of my early life, and she didn't speak any English.
Okay.
Okay.
So I
you're
was
bilingual. That's awesome, though.
I was a little bit, but never really mastered Spanish.
Well, you better, because I'd like to learn that. I'm serious. I'm telling you.
Yeah, no, my family's always on me about that one.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had the babysitter.
I had the babysitter. So. It was always a very interesting childhood because my dad is Middle Eastern, and they're very kind of by the book, professional politicians, right? Travel the world. And then my mom's side is from LA, not too far from East LA.
Okay.
And so it was always interesting because on Saturdays I'd be having, beer and tacos and, and hanging out with people who've, cousins who've had, been in jail or had all these crazy stories. And then on Sunday, I'd be with my grandpa, who was like a diplomat ambassador in Spain.
Oh, wow.
So
really
my mind
is.
was exposed to people of all kind of backgrounds and interests.
No wonder you can do well in sales, because you would have to have that kind of ability to relate to people on many different levels.
Right. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And so I was alone a lot. And then when I was with people, it was in those environments. So my mind was exposed to a lot of interesting people and situations, and that kind of paid off later. At the time, it was kind of confusing as hell.
I bet. Were you close with your dad?
I think when I was younger, he was my soccer coach, so we were close. But after that, in high school, it was kind of hard to relate to them, just because I was always trying to do my passionate thing, and they were kind of
passion is just lame, like people who want to sing, do music. Was it kind of like that?
Exactly.
Get a real job.
Exactly. Yeah. Make the money, and then with the money, do what you're passionate about.
Okay.
But for me, I want to have my cake and eat it too.
Right.
Right. And we live in America, California, 30 minutes away from where dreams come true.
Right.
So, and I'm, 19, 20 years old at the time. So why not give it a shot? That's the way I looked at it. So, yeah.
Well, like I was saying, you had some intense situations at home, some of that contrast. There was a lot of abuse at home, especially physical abuse, where there was so much tension that you couldn't even relate in school. You were distracted in school, but you still did well.
Yeah.
And I wanted to touch on that because even though the home front was intense, you were still able to academically strive in high school.
Right. Yeah, so my parents don't look at it as, abuse. A lot of that generation doesn't. They look at spanking as, my dad loves the line, spare a rod, spoil a child.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, that is in the Bible, but I think people take it kind of, you can take that and
run with it and be very.
Yeah, I think some of the discipline that we got as kids coming up, my parents would have been in jail.
Yeah.
So I understand. I'm not trying to make light of it, but I want to be sensitive because your family still around? Do they listen to the shows and stuff? And
Yeah. Most of the time they're supportive now. Before I think they were kind of worried, but now they're like, oh man, because
okay.
I come back and they hear all these stories of me traveling with. I traveled with Rob Dyrdek from the Fantasy Factory, and I hang out with like all these entrepreneurs who were homeless and now millionaires, and I cover all their stories.
Okay,
so now they're
go.
kind of like, oh, okay, you might be onto something here. So now it's all good.
But it's still cool that you're able to talk about that. It wasn't always cool. And I think sometimes people get the wrong impression that you can love your parents and still tell the truth.
Mm-hmm.
You can say, look, you were harsh and some of the ways that you disciplined were not the way to go. I still love you, but I suffered from that. And that's kind of a hard balance, don't you think? That's kind of what I'm feeling from you. You're balancing it very well.
Well, now, took a lot of growth, but at the time it affected me a lot.
Okay.
And I wanted to touch on that.
Yeah.
Because during your high school, you did fall into some of the dysfunctions, some of the addictions. Right. And I wanted to touch on that because in the beginning of your high school, your freshman year, let's talk about going into high school, not relating to people.
Yeah. So going into high school, I was a pretty good kid. I did good in school. But again, it was hard to relate to a lot of people because my mind was always in a different place. Couldn't relate to people around me.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't like the kind of intensity and tension at the house. And so it felt like, man, from every angle, there just wasn't a, and
safe place.
Exactly. Right. And keep in mind at that point, there's no real Facebook. There's no cell phones. So I'm kind of alone. I don't have a connection with the outside world a lot. So it's just me in my head. And so I ended up getting really just depressed, lost my faith in God. I used to punch myself in the head. I got kind of to a bad mental place, and my hair actually started thinning. I used to get really just depressed and a lot. Just felt misunderstood. Never had anybody to communicate deeply with, and I had all these intense thoughts and nowhere to go. And so, people who drink alcohol or do drugs tend to have a lot of patience for certain conversations. So I kind of fell into that realm, and that took me for a little bit of a roller coaster ride for several years thereafter.
Drugs and alcohol for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in high school, I started with cigarettes, and then you get bored of that, and then started smoking weed. And then I did it daily. Then
what did it do for you?
It took me away.
People just want to do it just because you just want to be a party and lame. That's not necessarily so. It's a lot of pain, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to me, I'd much rather have an intellectual conversation, but there just wasn't that release anywhere. And so, hey, I could get a release for $20 and a lighter, sure. So, I would just get high to kind of numb the things in my head. It's me and Joel were talking not too long ago about how it's just easy. It's like everybody wants to feel good, and so it's the easiest way to feel good without people.
Wow, that's really well said.
It really is because that isolation.
And it's pain. We're trying to tell people that everybody that's smoking weed and doing. I'm sure it starts off with partying, but a lot of people are using it to escape. Like you were saying, it's very good isolation and not knowing where you fit. When you spoke about God a little bit, was there any influence of God in your family when you were younger?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born to a Muslim household.
Wow. Okay, my stepdad's from Egypt.
Oh, wow, I'm half Egyptian.
Okay, all right, very well. My brothers are, so
nice.
I understand that very much.
Yeah, okay, so you're familiar with the culture. Yeah, so it's a very stern culture, and so, and living in Southern California, especially in this day and age, that's an interesting background to be from.
Yeah, it is, it is. Well, my dad wasn't really practicing. I mean, his mother did, but he allowed us to do what we wanted to do. I have to give him credit for that. So was your father practicing? Were you going to the mosque 5 times a day? And
my dad, it's hard to say. My dad is more of the believer that as long as you're thinking it, and most of the time you're trying, then it's okay. But he's not very you must pray 5 times a day.
Okay, so he
didn't beat it into us to do that. He's very I guess
let you figure it out yourself.
Moderate about it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, gave me freedom in that regard for sure. Yeah.
Okay, so you had a lot of things to deal with because this is a Christian nation.
Yeah,
so you're having, wow, it's a lot of.
And then I had acne too.
And then this is where I was going to go to.
What?
So you're struggling with all this in high school.
Yeah.
Your sophomore, junior year, you get severe acne. So your depression, your low self-esteem, everything gets magnetized. And then you're starting to really like girls and want to engage with them and talk to them and have a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And this just really drops your low self-esteem. And I think a lot of people out there can relate.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
It's one thing on top of these storms that just keep coming. let's talk about during that time, because you have severe acne in high school now.
Severe, yeah, it was really bad. It affected my self-esteem a lot. There was a girl that I was talking to. I'll never forget it. Her name was Gabrielle Munoz.
Okay.
And I was so in love with this girl.
Okay, Gabrielle, I hope this turns out okay.
And it's actually funny because like at the time I remember like, man, and she liked me. She told me like, hey, I like you. I was all excited.
Oh.
So then the summer passes by and then I get acne. Now, I don't know if it was because of the acne or what, but for whatever reason, there was like a drift apart, and I was so crazy about this girl. This was my first crush.
We make light of that stuff, but that's a big deal.
It really is.
Especially when you're a kid with intense emotions and no guidance. You just you let it all out. You don't know what to be reserved about, you just let it all out.
Oh, boy.
And so I was just in love with this girl. But I never said anything. I let her make the first move. I was still sharp.
So she didn't know,
Still sharp. No, I played it cool.
Well, thank you. You're giving me some ideas. There's somebody I'm kind of interested in. So I'm like, okay. So
I played it cool, and then, but she actually told me that like, you know, hey, I like you too, and you know, or I like you a lot, and I told her, you know, I like you too, and you know, that whole thing happened, and then not even like a week later, I see her with my best friend. Behind like a locker, and they're like hooking up. That's what took me into depression, man.
And that'll do it. At that age,
I'm telling you,
you can be swayed so easily, and that just swayed you in a negative direction, which broke your heart.
Super, yeah, that's what got me. I started wearing black. I started listening to like.
So you got goth? You kind of going goth?
Not goth per se, but I liked wearing black and I liked rock and roll.
Okay.
You know, it was kind of my bone to pick with the world.
So that was hard though, because I can't divulge the information, but I have a young person in my life, and the stuff that she's sharing with me is really hard. And some of the ladies that I mentor and sponsor, all of this stuff that they're suffering is from stuff in middle school, high school,
absolutely,
and they're in their 30s. I mean, it does affect our lives.
And that's why now I make it a point to always talk to kids. I'm especially nice to kids now.
Oh, wow.
You know, people say you're good with kids, and it's just that I care, because I just imagine what would somebody in their 20s or 30s or 40s, if they came to me when I was 13 and really talked to me and didn't try to give me advice or tell me what to do, but just listened and said, hey, what are your thoughts? Too many people don't get that.
Oh, this is powerful.
Because of what happened, your depression went deeper because you acted out for the next 7 years. You were smoking weed.
Wow.
You were drinking, which became a daily habit. And this would carry on into your college years, because you do go to college. You actually were carrying a cooler in your trunk and in your front seat
that's bad.
of your car while you were going to college. Tell us a little bit about that.
What
because I think
cooler? Well, we're not suggesting that
you sound like you want one. Uh-oh.
But it's interesting because people out there listening, you know, can relate. You're so deep in your hurt, you're so deep in your depression that you'll do anything not to feel. You're still trying to get through your daily routine, which is school, which might be a job, which might be a marriage. But inside, you're just hurting so bad that we've had guests come on and talk about working at prestigious radio companies, driving home, stopping off 2 different liquor stores and a bar before they go home because they're in such pain, because they're in such denial.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about what that college life was.
Yeah, so I should make the point that I didn't start really drinking in high school. So in high school it was all weed. all weed.
Okay.
Every day before
What's the
school,
difference?
after school.
I never really got into drugs. I never did weed and stuff. I was into relationships.
Yeah.
So what's the difference with the weed and the alcohol?
Weed was easier. Alcohol leaves a stench. You know, you got to keep it cold, right? So alcohol had those kinds of dynamics to it. So weed was just easier in high school. I can easily take it.
Okay.
And I actually have a teacher in high school listening. So sorry, Miss Simmons, I apologize. But yeah, in high school it was weed. Weed was kind of like my escape. It allowed me to kind of curb it. Plus, I got into skateboarding at that time in high school. So weed kind of took me that direction. And then in college, that's when I started drinking a lot, beer.
Well, because that's partying more in college. You have more parties. Is that what happened?
And believe it or not, it wasn't even parties per se that got me into it. It was just like wanting to like prove to the world. You know, it's weird. I've always had this feeling of like frustration and anger. Like, you know, Gabby broke my heart, and you know, my parents doubted me, and couldn't relate to people. I've always had this kind of chip on my shoulder a little bit, and
and
I want to prove to the world, and the acne, and a lot of the little nuances you forget along the way. But I've always been like, all right, well, we'll look back and laugh, or just wait till I win an Oscar, and when I win it, I'm gonna thank Gabby. I'm gonna say, hey, this one's for Gabby. So like, how do you like me now?
Well, and you look like George Clooney, so I'm happy. Abby, what's her name, Gabby?
Gabby.
I get to sit here and say he's really handsome. So, but no, I don't want to make light of it. But
hey, it's all right. Everything works out perfect.
Well, Adam Levine talks about that on Proactive. Did you use that for your face, or?
I think Adam Levine got paid $1 million to do that commercial.
but he did. Yeah. But he did have acne. I mean, he had to, come out and say.
I tried everything, and to be honest, nothing helped me like a vegetarian and vegan lifestyle.
Oh, really?
Being in a positive energy and being sober, honestly.
Okay, so that cleared it up.
Yeah.
I bet it was a lot of stress related.
Oh, very much so.
I
started losing my hair. To this day, I have like thinning hair.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. And my dad's always trying to get me to get transplants, hair transplants.
Hair transplants. How much hair do you need?
Yeah, no. I mean, it's not severe at all, but there's just a lot of things kind of mounted up. And then I hated college. Never wanted to go to college. Anybody who's
That's
ever
why I hear
known
most
me
entrepreneurs don't.
Absolutely.
From what I hear, because I think they can water your dreams down.
Well, the thing is
not everybody. I'm not saying it for everybody, but go ahead.
The thing is like if your goal is to do something and college is the vehicle or the medium, absolutely.
Right.
But keep in mind too that if it's not, it's going to take away your energy.
Yeah.
So a lot of people say, well, go to college and then work on your dreams after. It's like, but you're not taking into account the energy that it's going to take out of me.
Well, and also,
energy is so important.
Me as a writer, you go to school and they tell you what you can't do. They want you to be like Faulkner. They want you to be like all the people who have made it. And when you write, when you have a creative, I mean, you need to have a vehicle to know how to do it, but it can kind of stifle you and tell you what you can't do. Think inside the box.
Absolutely, because school teaches you what's been done.
There you go.
Not what can be done. And most of the people that influence the world the most are part of the latter group.
Yes. All of them are.
Show me somebody who's influenced the world in a long time in a meaningful way with a degree. Not a lot of stories are known.
We're not telling you not to get it, but we're just saying if it's not for you,
like you
don't sit on the couch.
There's nothing wrong with it at all. Yeah, I think it's awesome.
It's not the vehicle.
Right.
But even through your struggle with college, you still finished and graduated in business.
Yeah.
So you were still diligent.
Good
so
for
you still did
it. Stuck in there.
Yeah.
But during this time, you stopped being physical.
Right.
You had gained weight.
Right.
Your ambition wasn't there anymore.
Oh, wow. You're a real good inspirational person. I'm serious.
You were doing what was easy.
I was doing what was easy. And to touch base with you on the cooler thing, it's like I remember so many times in college, like to me, school is easier. The answers are in the book. It's just not fulfilling. That was my problem, is that it didn't stimulate me.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like learning, life is so short, right? If you're going to learn something, you should walk away from an experience thinking, wow, like I learned this and this and this, and I want to go apply it. Not leave 5 days a week and go, all right, I got to do page 428 to page 435 and it's due next week.
That is true. That is true. So you're not telling people don't go to school. I think you're telling people learn your learning cue. You just needed something different, and you had to go for that, right?
Right, but nonetheless, I did it.
Stay on the line. You stayed on the track.
I did well, and to touch on the cooler story, I keep getting sidebarred, but basically to answer your question, I did have a cooler in the front of the car, and I would always get beers, and for anybody listening, don't do this, but I would like drink and drive all the time, to school, after school. I would have a joint, and I would have like either a 6-pack or 12-pack nonstop in the car, and I would just hide it literally while I was driving. And the goal was to get as messed up as possible, but on the outside, play it off as cool as possible.
And you were thinking
during
this
college.
Mentally. This is what
I was thinking this mentally. Let me just have a good time, and I can still get better grades than everybody else in class, and still be professional, look good, look sharp, present well.
That's a lot.
It was a game. It became a game.
Wow.
And it's funny because not funny, but it's interesting that you had to act out in that way in order for you to maneuver in life, which a lot of people do. A lot of alcoholics are very charismatic.
Oh, there you go.
They
I've
are
been in love
sharp.
With many of them,
And they're sharp. You wouldn't know that they stopped off at 3 liquor stores, went to a bar, and then showed up for that interview.
Well, that's why people have the illusion of alcoholics and drug addicts as being skid row. No. You're very creative.
Right.
Very enterprise,
And even during that time, you would meet good women, but you didn't value them.
Oh, my goodness.
You had great opportunities.
She messed that up, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks a lot.
But you said something that was very profound.
Yeah.
And you said, how could you value them if you didn't even value yourself?
That's absolutely true.
And I think that's just where you were at that time. You were lost and in search of guidance, and you had no direction.
So you were sabotaging your relationships?
Absolutely. I hate to say it, and it breaks my heart, but up until a recent relationship, I had cheated on every single one of my girlfriends or anybody that I've ever talked to. Every single one.
What, didn't trust them?
I
didn't. You think it was from Gabby's, from that experience with her?
You know, to be honest, as you can tell by a lot of recurring stories that I'm telling you, is that I was kind of in my own head. I didn't have any real guidance. I didn't have...
So impulsive, just whatever you felt you did?
Yeah, and my role models became like rock stars and like, live the dream and all that.
Okay.
It wasn't until later that I got into, Tony Robbins, who, I consider in a lot of ways a father figure for me intellectually.
Okay.
Because, conversations that I wasn't able to have with, my pops or, my siblings or, friends, I got to overhear them with Tony, or going to seminars and meeting other like-minded individuals with similar things. It just opened up a whole new world, and that's what really turned my life around.
Good for you.
I want to talk about
you
that.
You need mentors. We do.
Absolutely.
And Bishop T.D. Jakes is for me.
He's awesome.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
You would have good jobs. You would meet good women. The appearance of happy was there because you had some success.
Right.
But you still felt very unfulfilled. But at 13, your Uncle David gave you your first motivational book.
Man.
And I want to touch on that because at the time you really didn't understand why.
Yeah.
Good for him.
But you were intrigued.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that because he became a motivation for you.
Absolutely. My Uncle David, God rest his soul, he passed away about a month and a half, 2 months ago.
Oh, you're kidding.
Recently.
Oh, we're so
Absolutely.
sorry.
And
Cancer?
my condolences.
Cancer.
Yeah, I've had that. My husband and my brother.
And it's actually a funny story because a week before he passed, literally a week, I had this thing inside of me. He was at City of Hope for cancer treatment, for chemo. And I had this feeling inside of me. I had plans that day, and I had, there was all kinds of reasons why I was too busy to go visit him, as most of the family, was as well. But I just had this feeling inside of me to just go. Like, forget what you have, just go. Like, and I went that day. I spent about 2 hours with him and talked to him about life. I took him an all-natural juice, and he loved it. And we were joking around, and he was telling me wisdom about how to handle all kinds of things in life, and I didn't know it at the time, but that was the last time I'd see him for the rest of my life.
Wow, that's very, a lot of people run from people that are sick. Don't do that.
No.
I got to sit bedside. I got to sit bedside vigil too to a couple of people. I'm glad you had that. Well, my heart goes out to you. Did he leave a wife and kids or?
Shania, yeah, definitely.
That's his wife.
Wife and kids. And he was a big inspiration to me. He was the uncle that was always like, hey, let's go to a seminar. When I remember being 15 years old, and he would call me and say, hey, let's go to a seminar.
That's beautiful.
And I loved it. I said, yeah, let's go learn, like a millionaire mindset seminar, But the first book he ever gave me that totally, I attribute literally the spark. You know how there's sparks in your life? You might not realize. I attribute 100% the spark I realized later. Was him giving me a book by Dale Carnegie called How to Win Friends and Influence People.
I've heard about that. I've never read that. It's a good book?
Mind-boggling.
Okay.
That book literally, it was always there. Through all the struggles I was going through, he wrote on the page. He gave it to me for my 13th birthday, and it said something to the effect of, like,
the guy who wrote the book?
No, my uncle.
Oh, your uncle
my
did.
uncle
Okay,
bought me the book for my birthday.
Okay, he endorsed it for you. Okay.
And he wrote, to Omar, this book will help you win friends, influence people, make a lot of money, and get a lot of chicks no matter what's going on around you.
Wow, okay.
Love, Uncle David.
Okay.
So that spark.
So that was the spark right there. Well, did it work?
Quite well.
Oh!
Quite well.
Well, this is what I wanted to touch on because at 22, and I want to speed up just a little bit because at 22 you had an epiphany.
Right.
It was during a drunken stupor. You were drunk. You were trying to score some dope.
Right.
You had no money.
Right.
Gosh,
this thing lasted about 3 hours.
Right.
You were on the phone calling everybody you can possibly call.
Yeah.
And nobody. Eventually, your phone died.
Right.
And when it died, you felt very alone, very empty, and spiritually dead. Yeah. With no plans for your life, your girlfriend had just left you.
Right.
You felt nobody cared about you, not even you.
Right.
This is where you had your epiphany because you decided to write 50 dream situations.
50 what dream?
50 dream situations, yeah. So I was listening to
pretty good, Joel. You got that down.
Yeah, that's perfect. This guy's good.
He is just smooth. All right, there you go.
They don't pay him for nothing.
Well, 50. Okay, what does that mean? 50 dreams?
So I was really frustrated, and I was, like anybody who drinks or smokes a lot, you're always trying to get, higher and higher and more and more and more buzzed. At least for me, maybe I've twisted sense of it.
That's what I hear.
And so I was trying to get some, and I was out of money, and I'm trying to text people to borrow money, and then try to find people that I can pay the person to borrow the money from. So I'm trying to borrow $20 from 2 people,
to give it to
sometimes extra, so I could eat after, and get some dope. And I literally was running this for
that's
weeks.
how you got that sales.
Yeah, the salesman. Yeah.
There you go.
And I just remember like getting so drunk that I just felt so like so disgusting inside. And my phone died, and I couldn't find my charger, and like it was just like everything. I to the point where like I was just alone, like everything. I was out of money, I was out of friends because I was trying to get dope. My phone wasn't working. I was out of a charger. So it was like almost like little by little. In retrospect, maybe it feels like God was moving everything out of my way till it was just me.
There you go. Wow. You and him.
Mm-hmm. And at that point, I just remember like something I listened to from a Tony Robbins thing came into my mind, and it said, if you don't know what move to make next, focus on where you want to go. What's your outcome? And so I just said, well, what's my outcome? Mm-hmm. And I said, like, how could I turn this around? So I wrote a list in like a stupid, frustrated, pissed off mood. I wrote a list of like 50 things that I could do with my life. I said, no matter how stupid it sounded, I said, actor, work for this company, work for this company, work for that company, be a producer, be a this, be a that. I just whatever I could think of to get my mind out of the current situation. Mm-hmm. And the intensity of the frustration, I just started applying one after the other, 1 through 50 down the list.
You mean to do them?
Mm-hmm, to apply to them. Yeah, anything I could. Reached out to a manager, whatever. Even if it wasn't going to work, even if I don't know who to talk to, just email, text, call, voicemail, anything I could. I used the house phone and my laptop, and I just went at it. And this was like probably 2, 3 in the morning. So I applied to all these jobs. I didn't get through all 50. I maybe got 30.
Yeah, but heck, that's powerful.
That really is.
Yeah, it really was a moment of just a rock bottom that just fueled me. They say like it's kind of like an arrow, like a bow and arrow. Sometimes you got to be pulled all the way back before you let go and launch. Mm-hmm. And so I was definitely ready to launch. And I contacted all these people. And the next day, nothing happened. 0 for 30. Then the following day, I got one message back, and then 2, and then 3.
Wow.
And then I got little by little, these responses started to trickle back, and I realized like, oh man, like I can like try things and they might work. And so that began what would be like a pretty good professional career, in that I love skateboarding. I'm a skateboarder. I've been a skateboarder for about 10 years. A little bit less now, but I still love it. Okay. Working on doing it more.
Okay.
And then I got an interview for a skate company, and that was the one interview. Out of everybody who hit me back, it went 50 to 30. 30 got narrowed down to 5, and then 5 gave me 2 interviews.
Well, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
And one of those interviews.
With great lead in. I love it. One of those interviews actually ended up being for a skateboard company, and I didn't get the position. Now, when I didn't get
what were you trying to apply for?
Just an assistant to the tour manager for Flip Skateboards in Westchester.
Okay.
And when I applied, I didn't get the job, but I had been in such a zen place those last couple of days. I started meditating. I got sober. I literally started meditating like 4 in the morning. I got into some cool rituals. And so being in a zen place, I got an email back saying that I didn't get the job, and I just emailed him back and said, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. If I'm not the right person for the job, I accept that. Let me know what I could do to put myself forward and be a more qualified candidate in the long run.
Good for you.
And so I was really respectful. And he hits me back. He emails me back, and he says, wow, I've never got an email that nice, especially from somebody who didn't get the job.
That's what I'm saying. There you go.
And
but
he
that
said,
opened up the opportunity.
Right.
Really?
Because I accepted nature. And he said, I'll be in touch with you next week.
Oh.
So I said, okay, like that's kind of weird, but didn't think anything of it. The following week, I get an email from Rob Dyrdek at the Fantasy Factory.
Now, Rob Dyrdek has his MTV show.
Right.
Whoa.
And now he did a spin-off of his original show.
Right.
Now does
he has the number one show in all of MTV history.
What?
He has 3 shows, 11 companies.
It's about skateboarding?
All skateboarding. We're talking number 1 skateboarding mogul. So he hits me up, and he's like, hey man, I heard you got a good head on your shoulders, and I love how you handled not getting the position.
Whoa.
The guy you interviewed with is actually a good friend of mine, and he highly recommended you. Would you be down to come for an interview?
What the head guy?
Mm-hmm.
There you
are.
Yeah, Rob. Yeah.
Got the internship there.
Yeah.
You traveled the country.
Right. Yes.
On his dime.
Right.
And got to really meet a lot of amazing, successful people. But before we go to a commercial break, what was the most important thing you've learned having the opportunity to travel the country and really celebrities, successful moguls, Rob himself, who has an amazing company.
Right.
What would be the advice you would give somebody out there who's listening and viewing?
Absolutely.
Who's hungry?
Absolutely.
Who is where you
awesome.
are?
So I would say 3 things. Number 1, who you surround yourself with, your environment.
There you go.
So important. The people you talk to, the books you read, the thoughts you put in your mind. That is the first filter of action. No action can manifest before the thought is there. And so number 1, what you put in your mind. Number 2 is that they're normal. They're humans, just like me and you. They wake up late. They're lazy. They use the restroom. They started out as babies who crawled on the ground. They're human. And they just took a different set of actions on a consistent basis. And now their life looks a lot different than yours. So that would be number 2. And number 3 is just try. Just try.
Just do it.
Just try.
Oh, wow.
You'll be surprised at how many people started a company, started a business just from not knowing how the heck to do it.
But they're
just like,
there.
oh, I know a guy who might be able to help me, but he lives kind of far. Screw it, let me try. And then that worked. And then another door opened. And it's a series of events.
That's what we've been talking about.
Yeah, you just take one step and it's almost like taking one step's got to give you permission for the rest. So to recap, number 1, who you surround yourself with is who you become. Number 2 is what was number 2? You guys remember?
Number 1 is who you surround yourself. Number 2
is what you think and read. No, that was the same
part
thing.
of number 1.
Okay.
Let's get it, guys. Come on.
Oh gosh.
What was number 2?
Oh, I know.
What you fill your mind was number 1.
Number 1 and number 2 was take the chance. No, that's number 3.
Number 3.
That's
number 3 is just try. What was number 2? I know there's people listening that know this.
But I wanted to mention this because you said this.
Yeah.
You mentioned you had the bullets, but you had no aim.
Right, yeah.
You fell in love with the growth and the direction that you were going in. So you sobered up. You started praying again.
I want to go back to number 2.
You began to search more and more.
I want to go back to number 2.
You got to remember
I know, I got it.
Anybody,
okay.
Producer, anybody in house?
Jeez, come on, Richard.
I was more
Richard,
captivated.
Do you remember? I was so I'm still stuck on what you feed your mind and the people that you surround yourself with. And then, I know. They're normal people. They're normal people. There you go. There you go. They're normal people. So
the most important part.
Don't be afraid of them. Don't be afraid of them.
Yeah,
okay.
they're
all right,
just like you and I.
There you go. All right. Love it.
You had the opportunity to meet Tony Robbins. In attendance of one of his seminars. Let's talk about that because you have many motivational people in your life now.
Absolutely.
Jim Rohns, Joel Osteen, and many more. But
Osteen too.
Love Joel Osteen. I was listening to him on the way here.
Oh, that is so cool.
But I wanted to touch on you meeting Tony Robbins.
Yeah,
what was that like before we go to a commercial break?
We don't need one.
That was unbelievable, man. You don't understand how many times I was alone and crying and confused and lost and didn't have anybody to talk to. And I would play his tapes, Tony, in a lot of ways, Tony helped me start going to the gym. Tony helped me get sober. Tony helped me pick the right friends. Tony helped me with my career path. Tony allowed me to meet somebody.
Right?
Before I even met the guy.
This is what I do with TD Jakes. Exactly. So before he just
and that's
spoke into your life.
And get this, he grew up 15 minutes from where I live.
What?
Yeah, 15. And he was homeless, a janitor.
I had heard that part of his story. But
his mother used to pour liquid soap down his throat. And now he runs 11 companies that do $5 billion in revenue, and he's reached over 50 million people through his events and seminars, and fed 100 million people, homeless people, on his own dime.
Wow, you know what, Omar? This is just really incredible because Joel and I have been praying. We know that there's some steps that we need to be taking,
that's right.
And I think this is a confirmation too.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is awesome.
When the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
There you go. This is beautiful. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, what's also amazing is you didn't stop there. So you have had these opportunities. You had changed your life. You sobered up. You're feeding your mind right. You're feeding your spirit right. Then you decide to create your own show called The Passionate Few.
I love that.
And when we come back, we're going to talk about The Passionate Few. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joy in My House. I want you to stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to come back with the executive producer of The Passionate Few, Omar Elatar. You're not going to want to miss.
Wow.
This is Joy in My House.
Joy in my house, joy in my house, joy, I got joy.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and hosts of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Hi, I'm Ro Williams, and I would like to invite you to join GospelRhythms.com every Sunday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our show, GospelRhythms.com Talk Live Radio. Join us as we celebrate Christians around the world in all genres of entertainment, as well as highlight interest stories on men and women who are making a difference and impacting their community. So don't forget to tune in to GospelRhythms.com Talk Live Radio exclusively on LATalkLive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes under R&B or watch us live on Ustream TV. We are reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is GospelRhythms.com Talk Live Radio on LATalkLive.com. We're more than just talk. We're heaven's party here on earth.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Joy in My House, inspirational reality show with a touch of recovery. A reality show where nothing is left unsaid.
And no one is insignificant who shares.
I'm joined here by my co-host and recording artist, Lolita Robinson.
I love it. I'm learning a lot today. I'm just really blessed.
And our in-studio guest, Omar Elatar,
Thanks,
executive
guys.
producer of Passionate Few.
Just a real quick question. Are you married, kids, or anything now? Or
I'm not married.
Okay.
No kids.
All right.
And recently met somebody mind-blowing.
All right.
Wow.
Well, congratulations. We're not going to sabotage this one, right?
No. Smart.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's
Well, does she have a name?
She does have a name, but
okay, we
we'll,
might keep it low.
yeah.
Okay. When you come back, you can tell us.
yeah,
so.
maybe
Okay.
next visit.
Okay,
That's
lucky,
right.
lucky lady. There you go. Okay.
Well, before we left the commercial break, we talked about how you were being influenced, especially by some of these
Yeah,
amazing
geez.
motivational speakers and pastors. You know, you mentioned Jim Rome, you mentioned Joel Osteen, you mentioned
Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
You decide to even take another leap of faith
Mm-hmm.
and produce Passionate Few.
Right.
Tell us about the name
Yeah,
before we go
love
into
that.
what the show's about.
Absolutely. So it's funny because I was thinking about a name for a long time, and it just kind of came to me. And I believe it or not, I've tried to change the name so many times, and my mind just won't let me. It just, that's the name that it's meant to be. And
It's a great name.
I appreciate it. Yeah, and it just, I started having all these experiences traveling all over the country, meeting all these, wealthy people. Not that wealth is the only sign of, achievement, but
thank you for saying that.
yeah, it's not.
I'm looking more at what your achievement was: overcoming
appreciate
alcohol, weight,
Mhm.
insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is wealth is the icing of the cake, but that's
Right.
your foundation.
Tony has a beautiful line. He said, "No amount of money will ever make you wealthy. Wealth is a product of the mind."
All right.
That's right.
Okay.
And
Thank
I
you.
believe that fully.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm not naive in that regard. I know that a healthy relationship, a healthy family, stability, that's much more important than a Ferrari and a big house in Newport.
Okay.
But I believe you can have both.
You can have both.
That's
You can
right.
have both. If you have the foundation, you have to have the foundation, the mental whereabout to keep that,
That's right.
or you can lose everything.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the passion. I love that name.
You decided to
Yeah, I decided to call it the Passionate Few. And the reason for doing that is because one common denominator of hanging out with all these people, I started interviewing people. So I started interviewing Kevin Sturdivant, who's he was, born into a household where he was literally broke. His dad got locked up in jail for multiple years. His mom was an alcoholic, ran away from home at 13, dropped out of school, got a girl pregnant, no education, totally lost. Now, you would think the outcome of this story is not too good.
Yeah, really.
Today, Kevin is one of the top 5 real estate agents in the country.
What?
He runs Case Real Estate for Keller Williams in Newport Beach,
Wow,
Laguna,
I
and
know
Beverly
Kelly.
Hills.
I've seen them.
And yeah, he's done $500 million in real estate with his team.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Wow. Did he motivational? Like
Oh.
you said, it all depends on who you put in your head and who you let mentor you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's countless stories. The guy who invented hot Cheetos, he was a janitor at Frito-Lay. I'm working on getting him on the show.
Oh, please, my son will come. In fact,
Yeah.
he's on a missions trip and he wants me to bring him a big bag of hot Cheetos.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
and these are going to be some of your featured guests.
Right. These are some of the
Gosh.
guests.
So let's talk about a little bit
Yeah.
about him.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the story.
and what the show is about. Yeah.
Yeah, so the Hot Cheeto guy?
Mhm.
Yeah, so Hot Cheeto guy. So Richard Montañez, he was a janitor at Frito-Lay in Rancho Cucamonga. And in the late 90s, Cheetos was having problems selling their product. And they were trying to figure out, do we make him puffy? Do we, come up with a cool little character, which they then came up with Chester the cheetah.
Chester Cheetah, yeah.
And so they were trying to figure out a way to market it. And him and his wife had been working on hot Cheetos. And so they basically, he overheard it one day, but, I'm just a janitor. I'm not going to, pitch them, right? Those were the thoughts kind of going through his head. And so he ended up pitching them anyways.
Him and his wife were at home experimenting with Cheetos.
Hot Cheetos,
there
yes.
You go.
And the kids loved them.
They sure do.
Which is a beautiful story about love, too, because they believed in each other, right? This guy was a janitor, so to have a wife support you, and now life's very different for this couple.
Because he pitched it to them.
Right. He pitched it to the Frito-Lay execs after months of emails and calls and voicemail. He was just relentlessly pitching them. And they said, no, the American palate's not ready for spicy. He didn't care. Kept going. Got a meeting with the executives. Him and his wife the night before made samples of hot Cheetos. He bought his first tie for $3 to go to that meeting. They went in, pitched it. The execs loved it. From the first day that hot Cheetos was released until today, it is the best-selling Frito-Lay product on earth.
Oh, I can testify to that. My kids were raised on hot Cheetos.
My kids too.
Yeah.
But what is he doing now?
Richard Montañez, he's now multi-millionaire.
Whoa.
And he's now the vice president of North American sales and Latin markets for the entire Pepsi company.
That is so cool.
For Pepsi, a Fortune 500 company.
That's absolutely. That is so cool.
So those stories are stories that hopefully you out there listening.
And that's what your show is going to be about.
Right.
Why is it the passionate few? Only a few people.
Exactly.
Like Jesus talks about, the road is narrow and only few find it. Is that the concept?
Mm-hmm. And Emily knows this too, is that we talked about it last night. It's lonely at the top.
I can imagine. Now, that's what T.D. Jakes talks about.
Always.
The higher you go, the more pressure.
Right,
and the colder it is.
Right, unless you know in advance. Because then if you can anticipate it's going to be lonely, when you're lonely, you're like, okay, this is a sign.
The haters come.
Yeah,
that's right.
The haters.
Right.
The haters.
You get the
and
haters.
Those who want to pull you down.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely. There's tons of people. Oh, that's done. What are you doing with that show, right? While they're making, 50, 60, 70 grand a year, but just unfulfilled, unsure of what they're doing with their lives, But, I started noticing all these patterns with all these people that I was meeting, just common denominators among all these successful people. And I thought, man, I wish people could get to see what's going on through my eyeballs.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
This is amazing content.
Mm-hmm.
And it's thought leaders in business, in contribution to society, and fitness, and from all walks of life. And so I said, well, why don't I just produce a show and showcase all their stories and spend a day in the life with each one of them? So that's what the Passionate Few is.
And what's so beautiful? It's almost like you're creating like a little support network for those who are on another level, because it is isolating. It is very lonely, and they're dealing with a lot of people who are not, supportive of them.
Right.
That is so cool.
And there's so many people out there that just, people underestimate the importance of inspiration. It's like, let me ask you this. What's more important than health and inspiration?
What's more important?
Than faith, health, or inspiration?
I can't think of anything. It's not.
And most people aren't healthy. Some people got faith.
Yeah.
But inspiration's lacking everywhere.
Well, and that's the thing you're doing. You're telling people that's what our show's about. Okay, you might have a really bad foundation or start, but you don't have to. Like they say, it's not where you start; it's where you end up.
I just heard it on the way here. Joel Osteen, he said,
I love him.
Yeah, he said, my past doesn't define me. My past prepares me.
Oh,
Amen.
You have really ministered to me today.
I love it.
Because we've got another step that we're going, and just to hear the encouragement of it, but also to have the support of other people when you get up there, because you're normal. You still have problems. So has the show started?
Yes, so we have 3 shows in post right now, and then we've got a couple more being filmed. So it'll probably be out. We're looking for end of July, might be early August. It just kind of depends, but we've got a lot of cool opportunities that have come my way, both professionally and financially because of it.
Will it be
online? So I'm just excited. Yeah, it'll be on YouTube. So it's just youtube.com/The Passionate Few.
Oh.
And it'll probably be out in about a month or so.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
But for more information
my God,
regarding Omar Elatar, you can go to his Facebook, friend him, find out what he's doing, the launch of the show. It is facebook.com/Omar Elatar. That's OMARELATTAR. You can see it on the bottom of the screen. Also, his Instagram is Omar the Rockstar. On Instagram, follow him. Omar, I want to thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule.
Absolutely.
And your gentleman who came, what's their names?
Absolutely. So I have here my awesome director, For the passionate few, it's going to be Leuven Reyes. He's the man.
All right.
And then my partner in the back there, he's doing amazing things. He runs Words to the Wise, which is a nonprofit organization that's working on feeding 100,000 homeless people over the next 3 years in downtown LA. His name is Hisham Naji.
Hisham, thank you. Leuven, thank you very much for coming.
And you can find more information on that. Facebook, it's called Words to the Wise. Check us out. Help feed the homeless. Come donate your time, your money, your resources, whatever you can to help people out there. Absolutely. Don't just post about it.
That's right. Well, I want to thank you for coming on the show. The show is coming to a close. Mm-hmm. We like to ask this of all of our guests. What does joy in my house mean to you in today's day and age, Omar?
Man, I would say joy in my house refers to the house of the temple that is my body and mind. And the only impact you can ever have in this world is through your body and mind. And so for me, that's two things. It's going to be strength and passion. You know, without strength, you can't get through a lot of life's challenges. And without passion, you can't express the lessons of it to other people. So doing that and filling yourself up with positive energy, positive thoughts, and positive actions, the sky's the limit.
Oh. Amen.
Wow.
Omar, thank you for coming on the show.
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joy in My House. I want you to catch us live every Sunday here at noon on WWW LA Talk Live with life-changing stories and talent that will inspire you. You guys have a blessed day.
Happy 4th of July.
Thanks for listening. Shout out Emily.
Oh.
Thank you for tuning in to LA Talk Live, reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we're more than just talk. Stay tuned.